A very good morning and a warm welcome to this week's edition of The Dialogue. My name is Sima Polo, and it is time for that analysis on big stories which made our week. Of course, we welcome you to the big show. The panel is set to take you through those big stories, and it's a very, very busy week. Celebrations here and there, but of course other issues also played out this week. We can look at the World Teachers' Day celebrations. They were held at Kololo Independence Grounds. We can also look at Parliament, of course, resuming business and all those stories, but I do not have to waste time but to introduce Dr. Gerard Werihe Wanzara, public policy researcher, is already in the studios. We also have Becca Baterule back on the show, but we have a special guest I will introduce from now. Let me ask Dr. Gerard to speak to the viewers before we kick off the show.
Good morning, our esteemed viewers. We are really happy to be here, like we do every Saturday. We can't take it for granted. We appreciate your time you spend to watch us, to listen to us, and to engage us on various matters. Of course, I also greet my host, Apollo. It's good to see you smart on that suit.
Wow.
And Parliament resumed. I've seen you very busy there. Also greetings to my neighbors here, Mr. Dupa and Bate, you're welcome.
Yes.
My brother likes you so much.
So how was your week, Dr. Gerard?
The week was okay, although with some shocks. I followed the Teachers' Day, and the president was quarreling about why not grade teachers, you know, like grade 3, grade this, and then you pay them according to seniority. And he was complaining, he told the people this many years ago, but he's surprised that it's not happening, and he concluded by saying, that God sees you. So the Minister of Education is the First Lady who stays in the President's house, and she has not been there for a short time. So I was wondering whether the president is really losing grip on his own government, and now he has to appeal to God to see the employees of government. Okay. So that one made my week.
All right, and of course, let me introduce Mr. Felix Odupa. He is from the NRM Transformer Cadres Association. Welcome to the Dialogue.
Thank you very much, my brother Apollo. And Doctor, I don't know, whenever I appear here,
he is you.
Manage to find his way. However, he's always late. I welcome him. And also, I want to welcome our viewers for this today's edition of The Dialogue. And I am happy and glad to be.
How is the Transformer Cadres Association moving?
Yeah, to must struggle. You know, everything in this country, people think that those who are in NRM, they are doing well.
Wow.
They are partying and marrying together, but we are also in struggle.
Okay.
There is external struggle and internal struggle.
Is the struggle ending soon, or
so for us, we are still in internal struggle.
Within NRM?
Yeah, it cannot end soon. It is not over until it is over.
All right. It's a pleasure having you back on the show, Becca Baterule, a senior journalist with Uganda Radio Network.
Yeah, thank you for having me. These NRM people are always malicious. So he's malicious in saying that I come late. But I want to just make 2 comments before we can start. First, the Minister of Education not only sleeps in Museveni's house, he sleeps in his bed. I have never had the president having another person he sleeps with. So they sleep together in the same bed. So if there is any problem in the ministry, really, he doesn't have to come. He can even wait at night and say, Mama, you know, I know you can't.
He doesn't have to appeal to God.
No, you don't.
But honestly,
there are multiple, with Janet, there are multiple sanctions, you know.
Honestly, but
No.
must you say they sleeps in? We know they sleeps
No,
together.
but
must you say it?
So I'm saying, because if you are appealing to God, really God has not that he cannot handle these things, but really,
He has given it.
you have multiple fronts on which you can cause sanctions. And why would you appeal to him of all people? I mean, so, but there is also another concern I want to raise before we start. A few days, like I was here and I was telling you about the NRM, the FDC thieves who stole my computer. So those days I kept on going to police many times, multiple times. So there's something I observed at had seen. No, I'd already seen it before, but it's just now it renewed. The idea of what is the word? Correcting, going and finding border people, and you, what is it? Getting something from someone by force. What is the word?
Confiscating.
Confiscating borders. You go at a police station and you find 1,500 borders. Not only one police station, throughout Kampala and throughout Uganda. So I'm wondering how much money is police holding in terms of, because those borders were lifelines to a number of people. Because 1,500 borders, those are 1,500 owners you have deprived of a livelihood. So I think the Minister of Internal Affairs and the Minister of Transport must rethink this idea of conscripting, confiscating borders, and you keep them at police stations without, you don't have a plan in sight. Why do you take them when there is nothing you are going to do them? You return them to the owners. If you cannot, then you sell them, you go and auction them. Maybe there is a law that allows them. If it is not there, the minister should move. Maybe she can sign a statutory instrument and get those things away from police stations, and they go in the public, so that, because 1,500 borders at one police station is 1,500 Ugandans deprived of a livelihood. When you have a government that has failed totally to provide for them, if they are doing all manner of things to ensure that they have a livelihood, why do you have to take it away then?
All right. Thank you so much, Beka Baterule, senior journalist working with Uganda Radio Network. Welcome to the big show. My name is Sima Polo, and it is the dialogue. We talked about big stories in the week. We cannot forget to talk about the FDC's National Delegates Conference, where a new set of leaders were actually elected and endorsed. Najja Nankumbi faction endorsed a new leadership, with Patrick Oboya Amuriat retaining presidency, Honorable Nandala Mafabi retaining the Secretary General office, but also other offices were also elected yesterday. Now it leaves a question of where does now this leave the Katonga faction? Do they still have a chance? Are they running out of options? Possibly those are the questions. 1, 2, 3 comments around. What do you think now is left with the Katonga group?
Even before I go there, Apple, I'll look at the issues that the judge brought forward in the judgment, because I read the whole judgment of about 11 pages, and the issues there were, one, the council, the lead council who represented the faction of Katonga, that is the Elias Lukwago, according to the Advocates Act, you cannot represent, you cannot be a lawyer, a legal person representing a matter in which you have direct interests. So he's the one who did a coup of Katonga. He's one of the petitioners and he's the legal representative. That was an issue. The other issue that was key in the ruling was that the 27 sued.
The ruling that endorsed or authorized
The delegates. No, they actually, the ruling dismissed the petition.
Petition from the Katonga
from
faction.
the Katonga function.
The petition lacks merit.
The other issue was that the 27 NEC members who petitioned the court, led by Chairman Virigwa, are only 35% of NEC. NEC is composed of 76 people, and there was a national council that sat in June, chaired by Virigwa, which authorized elections. And they sued Bamwenda Toterebuka, the Electoral Commission chairperson, in individual capacity. But in their petition, they did not dispute the fact that he is the Electoral Commission authorized person who is supposed to conduct elections. So the court was saying, if we take interest in this matter on behalf of the 27 who are fighting individual issues, and the party, which is a legal entity, is not party to the what? Because they never sued FDC. So it's like, now what does it leave to the entire membership of FDC across the country who expect to renew leadership, and the consequences of not electing leaders can lead to deregistration. So the fact was that the issue of the majority, the rights of the majority have to be, to be protected. And then the other, that they cited authorities that show that for you to give an interim injunction, there must be at least evidence that if they don't give you, you will suffer damages that cannot even be compensated even in monetary terms. But they said, but if we give, we violate the rights of the majority to give you, can't your matter be addressed after? So at the end of the day, it was dismissed, and of course they cited the issue of...
Where does that leave the Katonga faction now?
I'm not a prophet, but what I can predict, this, what happened yesterday, renders the Katonga group a street group.
Really?
Yeah, it is a street group. The only thing they can do is to swallow their pride and reconcile with the recognized leadership of the party through dialogue. But the way I know the heads there, you all know the Lord Mayor Lukwago. He has fought battles in the whole city everywhere. So I don't see, and of course, Dr. Kizza Besigye strongly believes in what he believes. Me, I saw issues of egos, leadership style, and strategy are the things that have divided these people. Leave about that money. The Katonga group, we know people who deal with the State House. We know people who get money there. We know people who collect bishops in Yankole there and they bring to State House. We know them. Leave about that money. People like Nandala used to fund Dr. Besigye. Why he was asking where the money used to come from? So at the end of the day, it was differences in leadership style and control. Okay. That I want a person who will come. Unfortunately, Mr. Lukwago was a wrong choice. He's very new in FDC, came in 2020. Colleagues have been there for a very long time. So what I see...
causing chaos in DP.
So what I see, I'm going to see an emergence of a new group. I don't know whether they will form a party, but I'm going to see the FDC rebels merging with some DP rebels. Because the DP parliamentary group doesn't believe in Mao. Then there are NUP rebels, the Mukaku group. So that group, which I consider very radical, might come up with a formation that is likely to have an MOU with the NUP. Okay. To have a new, we don't know what it's going to produce. All right. But for me, lastly, it is normal for parties, people to disagree, and for people to move on. I saw it in Kenya. For the Kenya, the Raila Odinga, the father left for him a party called Forum for Restoration of Democracy in Kenya. They split another formation for the Kenya and for the Asili. Later on, when Ford would not sell, Raila Odinga moved and registered a party called the Social Democratic Party, which signed later an agreement with Moi towards the last times of Moi, and he became a Deputy Secretary General of Kanu. Eventually, he left and formed the NAC coalition which removed the KANU from power.
So
it is normal.
It is normal.
I'm not seeing anything new.
All right. Let me quickly hear from Becca. The other time you were here, you said it's done and dusted. There won't be any chance of reconciliation. Do you still stand by that opinion?
Obviously. This country is interesting. And this is the argument actually I have heard from Nandala himself, that we were funding you when you were a candidate. We didn't tell you where the money was coming from. Does that then justify? Because you see, the ultimate question the people are asking Nandala is, where are you getting the money? He is explaining it away by saying, even previously I wasn't explaining where it was coming from.
No, I think that is false.
But that's
I
what
have
he's
to
saying.
interject. No, Nandala and Treasurer Ekanya have consistently said they have filed audit reports with the Electoral Commission. And that's why the party is not registered. Secondly, they say they picked this money which they were authorized to borrow and they kept in Besje's house. Besje did not reject that money. He kept it from October up to January. So at the end of the day, and there are people, I had Cecilia Ogwal the other day saying there's nothing like that money. If government is funding political parties, then why are you pinning people on the wall?
You see, the problem is not...
Where is the evidence?
The problem, you see, the problem is not with the money that the Electoral Commission provides. We should make a distinction between that money and the money that is being talked about here. Because you see, myself, I have been at the press conference and you have asked Nandala, you say you got money. Who gave you the money? He doesn't say. Who borrowed you the money? He doesn't say. How much was the money? He doesn't say. But he admits, yes, we had the money. But you cannot be in a political party. This is not his personal business.
And you cannot disclose the sources.
Yes, to your colleagues.
To your colleagues.
Because you see, it was an internal matter. FDC is not a business of Nandala Mafabi and Ekanya. It is a political party that is running in Uganda that wants to get leadership. So you cannot tell me that the two individuals are the only ones who know the source of the money in a political party.
So the Katonga faction...
Mr. Bate, let me interject. Mr. Bate, how many leaders have stood with Nandala there?
No, listen.
Who are candidates, who are MPs, who are what?
You see, the question is, if you have colleagues with whom you have worked, by the way, if Nandala is castigating Vesige, but if it wasn't Vesige, probably Nandala would not have the national status that he has. Because he was appointed leader of opposition against the advice of everybody in parliament. I mean,
Nandala had been chairing the Committee on National Economy
in
from
2001.
2001.
Because you see, we could have chaired that, but he wasn't known until he was leader of opposition, until he was the chair of PAC. And those appointments were made by this against the advice of everybody in
so
the
the
point I am making, there is no one, a person cannot just wake up one morning and then make those accusations, because Vesige is not seeking to become your leader. Number two, you are a political party that is seeking to repress the NRM that is tainted.
Yes.
You know, therefore you cannot tell us, and one of the key cardinal things that NRM, even the president of the NRM has admitted the cancer in the NRM, even Odiba here is going to admit, is corruption. You get, it's corruption.
How do you know he knows
he has, the last time he was here, he also admitted that is their cancer. Even the president has admitted.
So
therefore, you cannot be a political party that is seeking to replace a tainted political party without accountability, and you have no accountability.
You're saying, even though the leadership at Najana Nkumbi has, gone through these procedures and elected a new leadership, the Katonga faction still have a valid reason as to why they are breaking off.
No, there is no one who is going to wish them away. And you see, the problem I looked at the people who are elected yesterday. You bring them out and put them on.
The list is here.
So,
wait a minute. You asked for it. Patrick Oboyamuriat, of course, is president now for the second term. Honorable Bafabi also went through unopposed. Honorable Kanya Joffrey will take a second term as treasurer general, and Mr. Juna Daka is the new national mobilizer. Mr. Chikongogo as the new party spokesperson.
Chikongogo was deferred, by the way. But you see, all of those, you have Patrick Amuya Toboy, who a constituency would not appoint, who would not elect as MP. You have people that are.
No, how do you?
I'm telling you,
how do you come to that conclusion?
You have a political party that had people with a name. Now you have obscure people. Even when some of those people they have appointed, you know, Chikongogo wouldn't even be elected as a chairperson of Lubaga division. So a political party, then of what value are you? Because a political party is seeking to get leadership.
So you think
then
the Najana Nkumbi group is
there is no way
weaker.
you can there is no way how you can pride in sending away people who are the cream of your party and pride in people who have no name to them.
All
no
right.
one can tell who they are. So I think for me, let me tell you this.
What could be the options left now for the Katonga faction?
Let me say this. I think for me, FDC, the way we know it, has died.
Oh.
Yesterday it died long ago, and yesterday it was buried. Completely. And trust me, we are in 2023. FDC will not bring.
You know, if it was a parliament, I would put Bate on order.
Oh, okay. FDC would not bring 20 members of parliament in the next election, I can assure you.
And the Katonga will bring how many?
All right, let's hear from Felix.
I was saying I would put Bate on order because he's in order to come and lie to the national television
that what?
that FDC died a long time ago.
I thought you were going to challenge.
But yesterday was finally buried.
The claim on corruption in NRM.
Is Bate in order?
But the way he's even saying it sweetly, he believes that I'm saying.
Then secondly, you see, the event that is folding in the FDC can befall any political party.
Really?
And we should not
including
be surprised.
NRM?
Yes.
Okay.
I have told you, the only party that has not seen a serious revolution inside is the NRM. And there is no guarantee that NRM will not have another faction coming out from NRM. Mark my word today. Ugandans should mark this word and you will believe me. There will be a massive revolution inside NRM for things that most supporters of NRM believe.
Soon or much later?
It may be soon, it may be much later, but it will happen. I am not a prophet of doom, but I believe that even inside the party called NRM, where I subscribe from, all is not well. We have been talking about corruption. So when you talk about corruption, you don't leave NRM. It's kind of a glue that binds NRM and the current government together.
It is corruption binds your party NRM together.
Yes, yes. Now, there are people who are not happy. Some of us, we can't sit and see a party is being managed the way a QC is managed. And then you think you are going to accept that it is a business as usual. So, what is happening in FDC, it will eventually come and also on to the party.
Let's talk about FDC now.
Now, FDC, me, I want to concur with my brother that I see Katonga faction losing.
Oh.
Because, first of all, the judgment of Justice Musa Sekana gives them a biggest blow.
Yeah, true.
And it is now a precedent of their legal setup. There is already a sign of illegality in everything that they are doing. When you read into that judgment, however, I watched yesterday Lord Mayor Rias Lukwago castigating Musa Sekana's judgment. But if one has been a legal Puritan and understands the methods of legal interpretation, you see that Justice Musa Sekana was not even bothered about the Katonga faction, but he formed his judgment basing on the other ordinary supporters of the party. What is their fate?
Okay.
Now,
where does it leave this whole thing? Leave
in
the
fact, I
Katonga
was
faction?
very shocked. Why did the legal counsel for the FDC Najana Kumbi did not have a preliminary objection?
Honorable
That was a
Yusuf
matter.
Nsibambi.
That was a matter I would struck it.
Galisonga.
Yes,
And Galisonga.
I would struck it at a preliminary objection. You cannot be an uninterested party and at the same time you represent the same interest. That was already a matter for a preliminary objection, and that one alone they could not secure that interim injunction. Now, I want to tell the Katonga faction that they should understand that there have always been political orphans. Let them understand there are now political orphans on the streets, and they need a home.
Oh.
Because being an orphan where without a caretaker is very difficult. So they must now admit they are now a political orphans with no father, with no mother, but they are there making noise.
But
the clan...
But alleges that that the Katonga faction is the formidable faction in this, between these two groups.
They are not formidable factions. They are only those few who has been with Besigye and they only play allegiance to Besigye. Nobody else they worship in the FDC apart from Besigye. So if anybody comes and say anything, they will not listen to that particular person. And that's why some of them, when you look at it critically, I have not seen Arias Lukwago during the campaign for Patrick Muriat. I have never seen him.
But
in those campaign trails.
He has just joined.
Now, he has just joined the party, and he wants to take up the leadership. There are those one who have been in the struggle since 2000 up to today.
Mr. Dupa.
Now,
the difference, just let me just clarify a little
But
thing. The
you
difference
are
between
here
FDC and other
okay,
political parties.
let him interject.
Ambassador Biligo, in the election, the year he joined the FDC is the year he became the chairperson of the FDC. So the FDC has got a history of giving leadership to people who have been there, even those who have joined yesterday. They become leaders within the FDC.
It's fine.
And it is this very Amuriat. Why didn't he oppose Biligo when he was? It is this very Amuriat who appointed Lukwago, the deputy. So he becomes bad when he's against.
He thought he's going to behave.
But I must tell you, and we must not mislead Ugandans, that whether you like it or not, right now, the Katonga faction has lost it all. They have been rendered political orphans, and they can seek a refuge somewhere.
Let me hope you're not inviting them to...
I can invite them to... I have an idea that maybe we can meet and discuss this.
You also
issues,
have a personal interest.
and help them how to
which you
move
must
forward.
declare.
But
you are
as per
stuck in
now,
NRM. How can you advise me?
as per now, the way things are, I must tell you that FDC Najana Kumbi is the legal entity known by the government and by the political parties, organizations, and even the Electoral Commission knows those people as they are still the only legitimate political organization led by Patrick Oboy.
He has said he has said one right thing, that it is the only, this FDC Najana Kumbi is what we the government know. Because even that is the accusation that they are part of the government.
The government,
he has also
the government is
a bank's part of government.
Yes,
Banks
the
chest
government
the
is me. The government is you. The government is Doctor.
No.
We are government.
You have affirmed that it is the name Patrick Amuriat Oboy that the people of government know.
So
what is government interest in Patrick Amuriat Oboy?
No, I have not seen government spokesperson, neither any member of the government acknowledging that for us the government position is that we support Najana.
But the law
Yeah, I think
we must understand that there is law in this country.
It is best
yes,
in the law.
You don't go and
even the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission quoted the law.
Yes,
when
there
he
is a law.
Acknowledged the Najana Nkumbi faction.
Yes.
Finally,
so
Dr. Gerard,
you don't make a
Felix
in Katonga thinking that
Felix.
you are going to storm Najana Nkumbi without any basis in the law.
Okay. There is a judgment that says that Akena Jimmy is not the leader of the UPC. That the faction led by Walwini is the legally.
But he is still in office.
And the Electoral Commission recognizes them. So when you begin to tell me about the law depends on who government wants. Obviously, because the government wants they will recognize him.
In the Akena case.
Remember, in the Akena's matter, the delegate conference was called there.
Actually, the judge directed.
Are you seeing that? After that delegate conference, Walubiri and his group did not turn up for the delegate conference. And that later on, that delegate conference elected Jimmy Michael Akena as the party president of UPC.
The president
so
as
this is what they normally
Let's not go
do.
to UPC
Where
issues.
there is an issue, those one who say they have broke away, they shy away from legal business of the day, and they do a coup.
Gentlemen,
and they want
let me give Dr. Wanzara just a minute and we move on.
Yeah,
conclude.
In the court proceedings, one of the issues that were had that in FDC constitution, they included there the issues of dialogue and internal processes to solve conflicts. When the issue of data money came in, the National Council, sitting in 2022, appointed a committee led by a very credible man I know in this country, Dr. Frank Nabuiso. The committee interviewed Dr. Besige, it interviewed Nandala, it interviewed. Eventually, no evidence, apart from those little papers that tie money, that Besige presented to the committee. The same committee, I'm talking about character, because Bate talked about character. Now, those councils were chaired by Ambassador Birigwa. Ambassador Birigwa recently, when the election started, after the National Council, they are the ones who communicated the resolution, him and Salam Musumba. The next day, they were picked by Katonga, because Katonga knew that when they kidnap the chairman, then they will disable the other group. So how can the court rely on that?
All right, thank you so much.
Maybe the last one, the very last one.
Okay, make it.
When we are here with the doctor here speaking about NRM corruption, he agrees with me that in corruption there is no evidence. But when it is the corruption in the FDC, he wants where Amuriati and Nandara.
Where is the corruption?
There is no corruption. Corruption they don't sign. You never. When you give, when you keep
I'm also showing you the dishonest of people in Katonga.
I will go for a break.
The Katonga faction,
can I make the point? Protect me, Apollo.
They are very dishonest people.
In corruption.
Let's go for a break and we'll return.
In corruption, there is no evidence. There is no evidence. There is no way.
No, but he says.
Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue, and FDC issues can actually cause chaos. Well, let's move on. And a big story around this week was how the president of the National Unity Platform, Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi, was arrested at the airport and taken to his home in Magere. And this came up after the party organized a welcome to welcome their president from Europe and USA, and they dubbed it a 1 million march. Security calls it an operation, and actually from ASP Onyango Patrick, the KMP spokesperson, they say it was a successful operation containing the supporters of NUP and the leaders who had planned a procession from Entebbe through the city center up to Gayaza, Kasangati, Magere home for Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi. But the opposition, NUP, thinks this was a kidnap this was an affront on the rights of people, and they still insist this is a human right violation, mean arresting their leader immediately when he arrived at Entebbe airport. Let's look at it quickly, and we also have time to look at the celebrations that were in Kasese, as the Omusinga of Rwenzururu was also treated to a homecoming event after 7 years of absence from his kingdom. We remember what happened in 2016 when the army attacked the Rwenzururu palace and more than 100 people killed, others taken to prison, others died in prison, but the king was constrained from connecting with his subjects for 7 years, and it was a big homecoming, and people were very happy. And we will be asking whether there are some lessons that have been learned from that particular incident. Now, let me ask my panelists to speak about what actually happened at Entebbe Airport. What do you make of it, Dr. Gerard Werewanzala? 1 million march, was it anyway going to happen?
First of all, this topic is very complicated because in principle, as an advocate of good governance, of democracy, I believe in freedom of association, freedom to protest, freedom to peacefully protest, freedom of holding peaceful processions, and I believe that people have a right to exercise their democratic rights, and these are guaranteed in our constitution. But also, on the other hand, there is also sometimes when the behavior, actually most times, not sometimes, when the behavior of the police can become disruptive to public order. That probably if there is a procession, let's know when it's going to take place. The police can protect the people who are moving if it is about welcoming their leader, because it used to happen. I remember it used to happen when I was a student in Makerere. We went to Entebbe to welcome Dr. Besigye. That time when he was brutalized by Bwana at Mulago, and then he was flown to Nairobi for treatment.
Yeah, I was going to tell you what happened.
Yes, so at that time as a leader of UPC in Makerere, I organized my team. We marched with other people, the late Sebagal and others, to welcome Dr. Besigye. We met him somewhere in Entebbe.
Did it take more than 6 hours for Besigye to travel from Entebbe to
From
Kampala?
Entebbe, yes. Actually, we were too many. And that time we had to contestation with the police because we wanted to come back and hold a rally at City Square. But the police said no, you cannot. So they agreed, because we were to go to Kololo airstrip before it became owned by by military police. That time Kololo was a free place where we would gather. So I think they thought Kololo was big enough and therefore we would not disrupt. So we went, came back well, but along the way, President of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, was coming from Uganda and exiting. So there was an interception with the security team escorting the President of Nigeria to the airport and us, the protesters. So we basically closed the road. They had nowhere to, and you know, protecting a president of another area, bullets had to be shot in the air. And that is where hell broke loose. Caning, fighting, throwing stones. At the end of the day, the whole Entebbe road was a mess. By the time we reached Kampala, it was getting to dark.
So you're suggesting that such a procession can easily turn into chaos?
No, what I argue, what I'm trying to say is that it is our right to peacefully hold processions, demonstrate, but it is also the responsibility of the security to keep law and order. But then, where the problem is that there is no consensus on how this should be done. You find every time, like recently when Bobi Wine was on his mobilization tours, when he came closer to Buganda area, Luero, they said he cannot have anything, any rallies in Mukono, in Wakiso, and so forth. But these are even far from the city center. You don't expect any disruptions. So at the end of the day, I see that also on the side of security, there's dishonesty because there's no negotiation. I think the way I analyze our security forces is that they are operating these days under panic. There's a sort of panic. I think so many orders from different places, and so commanders are caught in between respecting the law or respecting orders, and also, of course, if you're a commander, your job is also on the line. So at the end of the day, we are not likely to see that peace. And you see, we have to be sincere. I am also seeing a situation where naturally opposition is growing. And you find that the majority of the people who are opposed to a sitting government are in the city and the neighborhood. So now it is like a cat and mouse game. Therefore, I believe the rights of Bobi Wine were violated. Because when you are coming from abroad and you are entering the airport, there are procedures. They captured your face, your fingerprint when you are leaving. But as we stand, we believe that Bobi Wine is still abroad because our systems don't know him.
No, but finally, from you, Dr. Jared Wanzala, was it going to be possible for security to handle this situation if at all they allowed the supporters of Bobi Wine to all throng Entebbe Airport, make a procession through the city center as they had planned to Kasangati?
Now,
logically,
let me tell you, I'm not a security person, but I can say it, what I see. There's a group of Dr. Besigye or who have been saying that it is time to quicken Museveni's exit, not to wait for elections of 2026, because elections don't work. We are seeing that message. And then, you who is in security, if you hear that message, what do you think? Definitely, you will think that when they leave Entebbe, by the time they reach, they have collected probably 500,000 people. And now, will you kill them when they reach State Square?
All right, so, thank you so much. Felix, what do you pick from that whole idea of organizing a 1 million march to welcome Bobi Wine from Entebbe Airport, and you carve out that map of procession through the city center, through Karerwe up to Kasangati?
First of all, I want to say that it was not proper the way police and other security agencies handled the Honorable Chagulanyi right from the airport. The man had just came out from the plane, and then he was not even allowed to pick his belongings. And he can claim they have stolen these things, like the other time Amuri had claimed his shoes were stolen. So it was not good. I want to condemn police for, if it is police operation, if it is ISO, CMI, I think we are selling the image and tainting the image of our country in a very negative way. You know, Bobi Wine should be treated as an alternative government. And that is how you can't arrest Raila Odinga in that manner in Nairobi or in JKI. No, you will not do that, because it is an alternative government in waiting. So you don't arrest him in such manner, one lousy van waiting, and bundle him and, you know, drive him off.
If I may ask you,
I think,
wait a minute, is there any other way they would have handled it?
I believe there were so many ways. One, they would wait the Honorable Chagulanyi, first of all, to check out. And I believe, being a former presidential candidate and a former member of parliament, he accessed parliament through VIP.
Yeah.
So they would wait for him finish the immigration process. And in most cases, most of those people, their passport are always picked by the protocol officers, taken to the immigration departments. They have their section, do fingerprint, and he checked out. Okay? Then from the VIP lounge, they inform him, said, Honorable, you are not around, but there is this plan that
you're not allowed to do what?
You are supposed to be escorted home with 1 million Ugandans, which as a security, we don't have the capacity to provide security for 1 million Ugandans who wants to escort you to your home. So for that reason, we shall take you home.
And you expect him to comply?
But even if he does not comply, it will remain on record, okay, that police had tried to be diplomatic enough. What police lacks here is diplomacy. Are you seeing that? They lack diplomacy, because what I am saying, if they have done so, even those who are judging police now, they would have at least some merit of saying that, but police also was kind enough to discuss this. But we saw Honorable Chagulanyi
grabbing him off,
grabbing him off plane, whisked him away, and then thereafter, even you don't want journalists to, to report what has happened. Automatically you become a culprit here. So I want to condemn, and next time, and I've always known General Katigezi as a very sober person. I don't know.
Deputy IGP.
Yes, I have known him a very sober man. I don't know what is happening. I think there are some bad beans.
May I call it the Luero consensus?
He's a very sober guy. And I will appeal to him next time, General Katigezi.
All right.
Let the things that happen. But also, practically, 1 million March people, and I am a sitting government. I am a president of a republic of Uganda. And they told me 1 million people are walking from Kampala up to Entebbe International Airport. The State House is just near the airport. Do you know you can fail to contain 1 million people? It reaches at times, even when they become rowdy and chaotic, the soldiers will not even manage them. Because it reaches at times that the soldiers will see, whom are we going to shoot? Maybe my brother is in this, my mother is there, my sisters, and so on.
So it was
we have seen government falling. For example, in Sudan, people woke up in the morning and said, we are tired. Okay? The cost of living is too high. Over 1 million people marched to State House. And that is how El Bashir was toppled. Are you seeing that? Soldiers tried their best to defend the presidential palace, but people were overwhelming. So practically, you can't achieve that. Even me, if I was a sitting president, I will not accept that 1 million people go and welcome a leader of opposition from Entebbe International Airport, which is close to the State House where we conduct government business on a daily basis. No.
So for political reasons, you say it was right for security to do what it did.
Yes, but
you
did it
also
in a wrong way.
You fault security and police for not handling it in a diplomatic manner. And
then also, I saw the Honorable Chagulanyi when he was addressing the press. Himself, he said he was not aware that there was that plan to welcome him. But this thing started on social media.
I think he was aware.
Okay.
Maybe
he said he was not aware.
And that's why
I would even again blame him. So you wanted 1 million people to die and you are not part of the group. Really. So that one was also rendering his supporters.
All right. Thank you so much, Felix. And we'll be going for the break. This is the dialogue. When we return, Becca Baterule will also submit on this particular topic. But when we conclude this topic about Bobi Wine and his proposed 1 million march from Entebbe to Magere, we will also look at the celebrations
unsuccessful in Kasese. 1 million march.
Unsuccessful. And the celebrations in Kasese for the return of their king, Charles Wezire Mumbere, who returned after 7 years of absence from his kingdom. What
7 years
lessons,
of deportation by the NRA.
lessons can we learn from this particular topic? Let's go for a break. We return after a short while. This is
There
the
was no
dialogue.
deportation.
Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue. My name is Sima Polo. And on the panel this morning, Dr. Gerard Wansara, a public and policy researcher, is in the studios. Felix Odupa, the NRM.
Not Odupa, you people have always been misplacing the words of my names. Adupa.
Adupa. Felix Adupa from the NRM Transformer Card Association is with us in the studios, but also a senior journalist from Uganda Radio Network. Becca Baterule is here to look at the big stories in the week. And we're still looking at how security executed what they call a successful operation, arresting new President Robert Sentam Kyagulanyi at Entebbe Airport upon arrival from Europe and US on his mobilization tour, and grabbing him, putting him into a van and taking him straight to his home in Magere. But this comes amid preparations to have a 1 million march by the opposition party and a procession right through the city center from Entebbe to Kasangati. And Becca Bate, I don't know what you make of this whole thing. Anyway, is it real? Was it going to be successful, having 1 million people marching through Kampala?
First of all, me have no apologies in how the government of the NRM falls. If it falls by people going to the elections and defeat him in 2026, so be it. If it falls by other means, so be it. If soldiers within it chooses to operate, so be it. Me, I really don't care how the NRM falls. I don't lose sleep on how the NRM is going.
You're speaking like Chris Bariomunsi, who said government
These are the
cannot
Ugandans who
lose
have
sleep
given up.
because Bobi Wine is returning.
These are people who have given up.
But eventually, when he returned, they were panicking.
Let me say this, that even if, by the way, these people had not been told that there is 1 million people who are going to march on Kampala, they would still have acted the same way. In 2021, 2021, I think in January, no, I think in December, the entire campaign team of Kyagulanyi was arrested in the waters of Karangala. Who was there to be threatened? The entire team was arrested and Kyagulanyi was airlifted from Karangala, taken to Kololo, then driven to his house. Who was in the waters? Who was there? What is in Karangala that they threatened?
You're disputing
So
the security reason that the traffic was going to be disrupted along Entebbe Road.
Let me say this. I'm telling you, in Karangala there is only water. You cannot move 10 kilometers before you find water in Karangala. So even if they had isolated them there, they wouldn't cause any harm. But they were the entire campaign team was rounded up, arrested, and nobody survived. Kyagulanyi was put on a plane and thrown to Kororo and then driven to his house. So we have been here before. And let me say this. I hear business people say our business are going to be interrupted. But there is always a cost to everything. You get, Museveni spent 5 years in the bush. Children were not going to school in those areas. 5 years. There was a problem, children are not going. I don't know how Odupa managed to go to school because in his area there was a problem for 20 years. You get, schools closed. People left their houses and went in internally displaced camps. You get, for good 20 years. IDPs were not dismantled until I think 2008.
Yeah.
You get, so and that is how life was. So for everything there is always a cost. I hear these traders say, "Oh, our business are going to be interrupted." So you see, my friend journalists yesterday were beaten. Seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
And they were got from a car and beaten. I had them cry, and then taken to police. In a country which doesn't respect rights of others, you get, because you say I liked you say Adupa's submission, because you see these rights, there are things we have to firstly agree on, basics. We should start the bare minimums as a country, that a person has certain rights that must not be taken away. In our constitution, when you read chapter 4, which talks about the Bill of Rights, starting with the chapter 20. Chapter 20 opens with this, says, fundamental human rights are inherent and not granted by the state. The moment you are born and you are not Kasiru, you can talk, that right is with you. The state has no right whatsoever.
But it also, the same constitution talks about rights not being absolute.
Limitation. I'm going
they
to,
have limitations.
Yes, there are limitations. I think in chapter, Article 43. But I want to talk about 4 rights that constitution says, under zero circumstances
briefly,
can these rights be taken away. One of those is the right from torture and inhuman treatment. Right to torture, from torture and inhuman treatment, a right to fair hearing, right to habeas corpus, right to slavery, against slavery and servitude. Those rights can never be taken away. But how many people do we have in prison who have never been taken to court? How many people? Yesterday, the journalists who are beaten by police. You remember the journalists of NTV who a police officer shot in the leg and said collateral damage. There is those rights, our constitution, the framers of that constitution, these ones even under what we call a state of emergency, these rights can't be taken away. But we have seen police taking them out flagrantly. So I think for me, as we design a Uganda that all of us would want to stay in, we must be mindful of these bare minimums, because you see Kasigazi today is the Inspector General of Police.
Deputy.
Yesterday, it was Kale Kaihura. Let me say this, the last point I want to make. Kale Kaihura was arrested and spent, I think, more than 5 months in prison. Me, I didn't know, I knew him, but I had never interacted with him at a personal level. But I used to do stories from his lawyers. They would call me and I go of KAA, Kampala Associated Advocates. I write stories where they are saying our client has been on remand more than the acceptable 48 hours. Kaihura was in police, at Parliament, suggesting an amendment to the rule that when you are arrested, police should keep you as much as it can until it finishes investigations. So today, Kaihura...
Until it dawned on him.
Yes, and me, who is a nobody, it was me writing stories to advocate for his release. And yet there was a time when Kaihura was the second most powerful man in this country. After
so violation of rights.
So I'm telling Kasigazi that today it is you taking those orders, beating up people, because you can arrest Chagulanyi, you can arrest NGOs from doing the work without necessarily attacking their rights, fundamental rights. So today, Mr. Kasigazi, you give those orders that you beat them up.
Okay.
Tomorrow it will be you.
It's not Mr.
Who's your right?
It's General Kasigazi.
Okay, whatever.
He has his rank and
General Kasigazi, or Field Marshal, whatever the general, whatever the rank you want to give to yourself. I really don't.
But also,
so I am saying, Minister, I think
finish.
for me, I think as we chart a way forward in the Uganda, there must be bare minimums. We say we can never go beyond.
Okay.
So and those rights that you are violating today, we have seen Kaihura, this very system that he was feeding on, was the very system that was feeding on him.
Let me ask you this finally. Your colleagues talked about...
I wanted to interject on something, Apollo.
Okay, do it.
I have watched General Kasigazi apologizing to the journalist.
But apologizing does not...
And he said,
if you apologize and you do not keep your word,
those officers,
and you repeat the offense,
he says those officers who beat journalists and they mistreated journalists, they will be dealt with, because it was not called for.
It is not the first time, Odupa. We have been...
It has happened
we
several...
we have interacted with
what to you,
General Kasigazi himself.
As media,
I myself...
You as a journalist, but as a journalist, you have a duty to put them to account for that.
Yeah.
And those one who humiliated our journalists, beat them and tortured them to make sure that they are brought to book. It is accountability we want from you.
Thank you.
To put them to account.
I wanted to ask Bate, your colleagues said if you are a sitting government and there is a plan to have 1 million people march past State House, then you have somehow a legitimate reason to stop it. I don't know what your take is.
But we have the history we have with our government, the experience we have with it. Even if you're one person, they have a law that says that if you are beyond 5 people, you can't meet. So really, it would be stretching a lot even for me to say anything. If it cannot allow 5 people to meet, how would it allow 1 million people?
Finally, from you all, what do you think this leaves the image of our country? And indeed, it looks like the opposition somehow scored. I don't know what your take.
No, I think for me, we gave up on the image of Uganda. We gave up a long time ago. Those ones who are running the state, there is what is there to protect? You know, I gave an example yesterday somewhere and said, I have my grandmother. My grandmother, when she was a little bit younger. Okay, let me use my mom. My mom cannot move without shoes, but my grandmother moves without shoes. She can even put half. The back is over and the head is sambala, and she doesn't care because who is there to look at her?
So that is how
we have
our country has reached.
Yes, we really don't care. We have our president, and the other thing, maybe would be humiliated when he goes to this international, maybe the UN where. But this is he doesn't travel anymore. It is Alupa who does travel, so he doesn't really care.
Okay, before I take your opinions, let me tell our viewers that you can send your message or your observation. Send it to 0701 609906. I'll be reading these messages in just 5 minutes from now. Tell us what you think about these big stories and make your comment very brief and to the point. Adupa, you hinted on the image that indeed our image as a country has been tainted in this whole security operation. But do you think NUP scored a point in organizing this whole thing, which I think they knew very well it won't succeed?
Yeah, because the way that the old event was handled gives them public sympathy and international sympathy, and they carried the day. But then, what I have always said that Ugandans, we need diplomacy in everything. Not only even with police, even people who are in the government. We have lacked out of diplomacy. I don't know what President Museveni does in Chamkwanzi whenever he takes people there. I don't know what they talked about.
But you are an insider.
I don't know.
He's an outsider.
I don't know. I don't know. It is true. And that's why when I said something, you should not say that the government has spoken, because I am not inside deep inside the NRM. I have not entered the table of looters.
No, but Mao used to go NRM, Gashas, solid, liquid.
I also don't
You admit that NRM is for looters.
I don't know.
So you've admitted that NRM is a part of looters.
I don't know what also, you like diverting and I don't like.
Finally, on your comment.
Now, on public policy, on public diplomatic matters, I think we are lagging behind. In all sectors. You have seen of recently, we went and destroy our image in UN. Right now, you see a prime minister and another minister making a lot of unnecessary abuse, insulting one another. This is what we are calling diplomacy. Even the top class government official that we expect to treat themselves with a lot of decorum, they are even shaming themselves in public. So what do you expect from police?
Good.
So Uganda, we need to start handling each and everything in a very diplomatic manner.
Good.
If we want to also polish police, let also the people who make policies, they are also supposed to be policed, they are also supposed to be diplomatic, and everything must be done according to the
Thank
law.
you so much.
But in this particular mess, I blame the police or the security agencies. This was just a warning bell. You know when a bell is rung, and you think there was a time in primary school, mid-break. It does not mean that people are going to eat now. You first wait and see, is there food ready? They can give a warning bell and takes again another 2 hours before the final bell. So this was a warning bell on social media, but the police started panicking, making unnecessary noise, which was not called for.
Dr. General, finally, from you, well, it could have been a successful operation on the side of security, and like you said, if they were out to protect the government in power, they did it. But where does this leave? Or maybe, if I may ask you, do you think NUP scored any point here?
Of course, yes and no. Globally, I saw articles, news items on Al Jazeera, The Guardian, CNN, BBC. You know, it moved so fast. And you would think Uganda was on fire. So I believe in terms of our image, it is not okay. Locally, we are used to this. It's not new. One of the most highly arrested politician in the world, according to Guinness Book of Records, is Dr. Kizza Besigye, who was arrested repeatedly by this government. So it is not new. But I wanted to agree with Bate on the issue of image. I think we are behaving like we have given up on the image of this country. We don't care. Right from the top to the ordinary citizen.
Why the hell would you be journalists? Really?
From top to the ordinary citizens. The nature of society shows that there is something that is seriously lacking. The churches are no longer effective to change people. The mosques used to help us shape character, but now you see everyone is the traditional leadership. So there's something wrong with this society.
There is something wrong.
You see the borders on the road, you know, at Ginger Road there, they're keeping right. The traffic are looking at them. So I think we're in a jungle, basically.
All right. Everything has collapsed.
Albert Einstein actually one time said that crime is contagious. If government becomes a lawbreaker, it breeds contempt of law. So when people learn from
the other day, a Japanese man was killed. An engineer working on the road.
Let's look at what is coming in.
No one arrested. The man was killed.
It's quite a big one here. Good morning. Thanks for the show, guys. The only person who could unify the FDC is Dr. Kizza Besigye, because most of FDC people, both Katonga and Najana Nkumbi, still believe in him. The problems of FDC can't be solved, can only be solved politically. What happened yesterday was so unfortunate, because now we shall not see any more serious developments in the party other than fighting for legitimacy for the next 10 years, just like UPC, DP, CP, and others. Now, NUP, I wonder why someone at the level of a prime minister would make a statement on the floor of parliament that they provided the Honorable Chagulanyi free transport as if he requested for it. I don't know why this government is always preaching water for them and they take wine. But is Onyango Ugandan? Yes, he's a Ugandan. Does he also see things that happen in this country? You see journalists being beaten on camera with wounds and say that they were given VIP treatment? Really? Actually, that was an insult.
No, it depends on what you decide.
I hear apologies. I hear apologies. Apologies heal wounds. Do apologies bring back spoiled cameras and other equipment? Sometimes when you hear such things, you regret why you aren't of another nationality. Otim Major Joel, thank you so much for these messages.
Just a second.
We appreciate you.
When you talked about the VIP treatment, I recall when we were in UPC before I decamped from...
Is it Onyango Jacques
So was
Onyango,
Onyango,
Patrick, who
yeah.
said journalists were given VIP treatment.
Yeah, it was
That's an
Onyango.
insult because I'm a journalist.
So
No,
I
it depends, because if others are
And he's a
being pushed under,
spokesperson.
they are
He's a spokesperson who deals with journalists on a daily basis, and himself he never apologized. But then later on, his boss came on and apologized.
but
so
if
Apple just 1 second.
But also, I blame also you, the journalist, sometimes. Why don't you people give these police a media shutdown?
Okay, I think that's
I
the way
think
to
I
go.
blame you, the
That's the way
media
to go.
owners and what and so
Actually,
forth.
VIP.
Give them a media shutdown
Okay,
for
one
a week.
one quick one
things
because
will
we have
change.
to move
When
on.
it comes to
Gentlemen.
VIP treatment, the meaning, when I was with Mwanga Chivumbi and others, Sakwa, the former RDC, fighting against lifting of term limits. We were, Sakwa was arrested in Mbale when we were distributing flyers and was taken to Bugema Barracks. So one of the questions was, do you need the VIP treatment or what? Then he asked which one. He said VIP, we'll give you chicken, matoke, wabanga, those. What do you choose? He chose because he was very hungry. But the beating he received. So
That was a VIP.
that was the VIP. He
So-
was,
So in police classification,
Their VIP treatment is brutality of the highest order.
So that is the VIP treatment.
Good morning, Apollo and the panel. I'm happy to see Bate Baker. I'm happy Dr. Gerard Wanzala's submission on the issue of character and behavior of the Katonga group on how they took away chairman Akampumuza Aberkeru. And he says, Mr. Apollo, let Bate stop this talk of 5 years of the Bush War. There was no studying and the economy on standstill, but this was a war. So what was the match? Let him define for us. Okay, Abelketi, thank you so much for the message, and Bate has received it firsthand. I will pick up the messages as we go on. Others are saying thank you for the panel. They are making good okay. Others are thanking Gadupa. Anyway, let's quickly, gentlemen, look at the celebrations in Kasese. The Umusinga, Wesley Charles Mumbere, left his palace. The palace was attacked in 2016. Very many people were killed. Then he was taken to prison. Then court proceedings. Then application for amnesty, and it was granted. He was this week back to his kingdom, and well, I saw the good thing is I saw people now appreciative of government, and they were saying they are ready to work with government, which is very good. And one key statement I had from the brother to the Omusinga, is it Honorable Chibazanga? He was saying, we have learned our lesson. And I will ask you, but are there lessons to learn from this particular incident? Because it is not the first time it is happening. You remember very well the issue from history of Kabarega being, in conflict with the British government, colonial government here. He was exiled, and he died in exile. Then later, Kabaka Mutesa also in 1953.
even Mwanga actually died in
The conflict with Sir Andrew Cohen. Then he was exiled, and then he returned after the Namirembe Agreement. Then just of recent, the Kayunga riots of 2009. Then the two leaders also reconciled later. So we have had these conflicts between the central government and the cultural leaders.
I was writing a paper recently, and I was looking at how violence has defined Museveni's life. And in 71, Museveni wrote an article, a scholarly article. Museveni, you can hate him, but you accept something. He has something in the head. Only that we can discuss of how its usage to the people.
Say he's clever.
Okay.
He's wise.
Yes, but
He's
in that
genius.
paper, Museveni wrote about Franz Fanon and his take on violence and how it was applicable. He was looking at Mozambique. And that is how Museveni's grasp understanding of violence. From when he was a young man, he believed violence is very key in getting power and also in maintaining power. And that is how he has lived his entire adult life. So, for me, my interest is away from even what happened in Kasese, because there is so much you can talk about what happened. But I want to reflect on the issues that exiled the Mumbere from his kingdom. You have a government that says, when you read Museveni's earlier writings, What is Africa's Problem, which has a collection of writings, even his mustard seed, I read his mustard seed when I was in senior one. And I have understood him. Museveni says so many good things, and his conceptualization of what a good thing means, his definition of what is good, what is in public interest, his conceptualization is always crisp. But it is one thing for him to conceptualize the idea very well, and another thing to act on his conceptualization of these ideas. So a president who in his writings talks about one of his motivations was to end all manner of extrajudicial killing, all manner of violation of rights, all manner of violations you can think about. In the recent memory, when all of us arrive, we can count more than 500 people who have been killed. You get more than 500 people who have been killed in under circumstances that are extrajudicial. You go in Kasese, people who have got spears, people who have got jambia, people who have got pangas, and you unleash violence. I remember when Trump was speaking about the North Korea, he said that he called him the rocket man. We are going to unleash fire and fury that the rocket man was never heard of. That is the kind of violence, fire and fury that the state of Uganda unleashed on the people of Kasese, who are armed with, and you can't take away spears from traditional kingdoms, but who are armed with those rudimentary things. And they unleashed untold violence on these people. And do you know who is being tried? The people on whom violence was unleashed were the people who are in court. The people who unleashed the violence, the best they did for them were to be promoted. Erelu is now the deputy CDF. But this was the commander of the violence that was unleashed on the people of Kasese. So I think for me, when I was asking a friend of mine at Makerere that, why are we not seeing writings about Museveni and the violations that have happened under his watch? He said, they will write them because people don't always want to write about power still in power. But the people who are going to write about the number of people who have been killed under Museveni's watch, Kasese, in Buganda here during the violence of 2009, during the 2020 November killings in Uganda here, all these ones, they have happened under Museveni's watch. So I think for me, God should give us more time with Museveni when he's not president. And we write these things, and we give him, we cross-checks them alongside what has been written about Amin. He will find that actually Amin was just a kid. Because the violence that has been committed in this country under the watch of Yoweri Museveni can't be explained.
But I think we've had testimonies from the people of Kasese, around this time at least, that indeed they were planning a secession. So they actually, even the conduct of royal guards, when they were instructed to leave the palace, they also responded violently.
With what?
I'm picking from the testimonies from some of the leaders, even the Prime Minister. I think it is testified that indeed the conduct of the royal guards was violent, really. Somehow, don't you, in your heart of heart, think that possibly the response also may have prompted this bloodshed? And
you see, I find a problem in accepting those false equivalences. A man armed with the SMGs, with the bombs, with the all manner of equipment, vis-a-vis one who has a panga. The force, the amount of force that is subjected is over and above the resistance. You see, the government had capacity actually to subdue everybody in that palace without killing anybody. You get, or let's say without killing the amount of people, the number of people who were killed. We were here in Kampala. I was here in 2009. I was a student at Makerere. They didn't tell me. I watched it with my eyes. In 2020, I was in Kampala here, journalist. I watched with my eyes. People, I was at the mortuary. By the time they chased us from counting, we had counted 90. But the government acknowledges 53. But the Aruhanga chased us away from Mulago, what is it called? The KCC mortuary. When they were bringing in people who had been killed, who had been shot by state agents. What amount of resistance were they putting up? I think for us, for me to accept the idea that there was resistance in Kasese, I think even if I agree for just argument's sake that there was resistance, the amount of force that they were subjected to was over and above their resistance.
Okay.
And by the way, one of those rights can't be taken away just like that. It's the right to life. So I think the state, extrajudicial killing, these people should have had a day in court, not for them to be summarily executed in the field.
All right. Dr. Jided, will take another shot on the testimonies, especially. May I listen to the testimonies? The people of Kasese are now saying, we are now ready to work with government. We learned our lessons. What do you make of? But after bloodshed has been...
Of course, one of the saddest, the Kasese thing, incident, was one of the saddest in the history of our country. I was out of the country that time, and when I saw the bodies, and then women who were later arrested and children addressed with no knickers and clothes, tied kandoya and lying like bodies outside, it was really a bad episode in the history of this country. I also agree that if I was a commander, I'm not a security person, but if I had been sent probably to subdue people who were in the palace, I don't know what happened because there are those who were killed in the fields, but even surrounding those people for a week, hunger would bring them out without you bombing the walls and inside and then bragging that we smoked them out. It was so unfortunate. Now, moving forward, I also saw some people talking about working with government, thanking government. I saw particularly, of course, Chibazanga. Actually, one of the reasons why Chibazanga lost the elections was because as the violence happened, he was appointed a minister. So him and the brother were not at par at all. So, but I saw them saying, forging a new strategic plan, working with the government, preaching peace, peace. And, you know, I think before we even handle these matters, we have to know the history of that kingdom. That it was formed out of violence, and there were always agitations from the Bakonjo, both across and this side. And therefore, the NRM government took a long time to restore, to bring back Mumbere because of that. But on a positive note, and where I may be, you know me, I'm not a political extremist. I analyze, but I also look at common sense at times. I saw Norbert Mao saying one of his achievements in the office was to negotiate with the Umusinga so that he gets amnesty and his freedom is restored, and then to facilitate the peace in Kasese. And probably violence always sometimes is not the best. So I believe, but now what government needs to invest a lot is in sustainable peace in that place. Because there's one thing, releasing Umusinga, but then you don't remove the underlying problems that caused the violence. I saw the Chinese government in Xinjiang province. They wanted to secede from China and join their fellow Muslims, the other side, Central Asia. The Chinese government moved in with a lot of force executions and things like that. But one aspect that they considered, I looked at those people in China from Xinjiang. They are the most, segregated people. the job they do is roasting, because they rear sheep. So in every city you go, they're the ones who roast muchomo and sell. But in offices, they don't get jobs. So government had to do a Marshall Plan to invest in economic development of Xinjiang province, to ensure that people feel the government in the area. So me, I would like to ask government that not only Kasese, because we have boiling points, we have this matter of Apa between the Madi and Acholi. This matter has persisted. People have been dying there, but we are handling it casually. You know?
Actually, there were people who died, I think, 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
There were clashes again, and
exactly. We are handling it very, very casually. If you study this violent extremism, that is how it starts. You look at the issue of Balalo, we are handling it with kid gloves, in Acholi, Lango, and so forth. You cannot convince me that people arrive with 15,000 cattle in a place like Lamo, and then they begin grazing anywhere. And the natives are there watching. And then people later surface with land titles. This is communal land, you know? So these matters need to be solved.
Thank you so much. And it reminds me of these different layers of leadership, because cultural institutions also are another layer of leadership.
Yes.
And governance.
And people believe in them.
And people, yes, like you
You
said,
forget about ours like Umukuka, which are just a forgery. These ours
but
in
that
Mbari.
is your opinion. There are others who think it's legal.
Denouncing your traditional.
No. I know it's history.
Adupa, what do you make of those testimonies? And he talked about those underlying causes of these flares and conflicts. What do you think now happened, and going forward, what do you make of the homecoming of the Musinga and the celebrations?
First of all, me, myself, I want to congratulate the people of Kasese for welcoming Musinga back home, and also for uniting them together once again after a period of 7 years. I watched the Prime Minister did mention that it was difficult for the last 7 years to run the affairs of the kingdom, because there are certain decisions that are supposed to be taken directly by the Musinga. It's like a presidential decree or a presidential order, which the Prime Minister could not do it. One thing that I have learned there is that, you know, government has got their ears on the ground. It is not now the time to blame the both parties. It is the time for peace and reconciliation. I think that's why there was that process of negotiating with the Musinga and have the amnesty, the matter dropped by the DPP, and then thereafter accept the return of Musinga to his home. It means that even the government, in one way or the other, they realized there were certain mistakes done. And then also from the side of Musinga, why he has also accepted this offer, he has also acknowledged that there were also mistakes. We don't need to blame only one side. So there were mistakes in the both sides. However, people look into government as those people supposed to protect the rights and the life of the innocent civilians. But one thing I want also to tell, I have heard Bate saying that Museveni has understand the methods of violence, and he keeps power through violence and all sort of kind of that. But there is one thing, rules of engagement. Those who are not had privilege to watch a movie, Rules of Engagement. A harmed civilian is no longer a civilian. A harmed civilian with a dangerous weapon that can kill, choose to be.
I think some policemen were killed
a civilian
during that conflict.
So therefore there was already a battle And when somebody is with machete and spears, bows and arrows, definitely those are dangerous weapons to kill. And according to by then the Commander General Yellow, he said he retaliate because his men were attacked. And before the army entered, there was already death. People that had killed police. And that's when they said police could not manage the general situation. The army had to swing in action. But now we are not going to blame everybody.
Yeah.
What we need in Kasese now is peace and total reconciliation. Those one who had planned against the government should acknowledge that they did wrong. They provoked the government. And also, government should also now know that the interest why those people of Kasese wanted their own power, it means that there was something pushing them.
Yeah,
they had a pressing matter that the government had not solved. So they decided to take an alternative route. I think that one also, government should take it into consideration that the interests of those people should be met with. Finally, what I also want to appeal to the government, in total honesty.
But I keep wondering why would government, with all its intelligence, wait for a situation to escalate to that level? I mean, the discontent in the public to reach that level.
I followed this story very well, Apollo. There was another DC in Kasese called Milton Odongo.
No. Yeah. I think I'm speaking to what I think Dr. Gerard talked about.
No,
if you see the simmering conflicts in Upper and other areas where Balalo are settling with cows and what, why wait for the situation?
I was coming to that, and that is where sometimes our government makes mistakes. In Kasese, before this incident, there was another DC called Milton Odongo. Odongo had been writing intelligence informing the government that you need to come on the ground and we dialogue with people of Kasese. There are issues of Bakonjo and so on. But then there are people also, because they have their own political godfathers, they outshine the information by the RDC. And then therefore later on, Odongo was transferred. But after the attack of Kasese, President Museveni requested for all the intelligence report. And he found that some of the report that Odongo was sending was not reaching him. Okay? So in everything you find there are those brokers in between. They intercept information, a very crucial information that needs a decision-making body like the president to take a decision, a key decisions over those issues. They keep on blocking. Now, they have talked about APA and the issue of Balalo. Yes, it is a time bomb. It's a time bomb. President did mention the other day, he went and said that the land belongs to the Madi. It is not a statement that actually people have taken it lightly. They have not taken that statement for granted. So if the head of state has made such a statement, you find that now the community are boiling.
In the upper conflict?
Yes, they are
between the Acholi and
yes, they are boiling.
And the Madi.
And they say, how? What method? How did he get to know that this land belongs to Madi people? There was a committee set to investigate and know what really transpired there. Who are the bona fide settlers of that land? Now,
finally,
those are some of the conflicts that the security agencies, apart from just deploying soldiers, they have been deploying, but people have been killed. Are you seeing that? It means that sometimes even people are outsmarting the intelligence system and the security agencies. Good. So that one need to be handled well. The issue of Balalo, it is very true that even right now in the part of northern Uganda, Balalo has taken over all the place, and the indigenous community are not happy. You find somebody having a square miles of land, and at the end of the day, people are saying, okay.
But there is a presidential directive, the Balalo.
He has extended it up.
He has extended, and maybe for the benefit of the viewers, there is a disagreement between the president and General Salim Saleh.
Are you seeing that?
The president wants the Balalo evicted. General Saleh says, no, this land belongs to some Acholis who have big land, but these are mafias who who take advantage of their weak colleagues. Then they come
and General Saleh has been has been in the part of the north for a very long time. General Saleh knows how many lands in Acholi in square miles. Okay, how many lands has got a land title? How many lands they don't have title deeds? He knows all those details. Now, you ask yourself, what is the interest of General Saleh in all this? And when you look at people who are having their farms and the Balalos who are occupying lands in Acholi, you wonder, how did they get to Acholi sub-region?
Thank you so much,
Those are the
Felix.
issues that are affecting our people. Lastly,
just a few seconds.
There is an issue that the government has failed to resolve between the Baruli and the Bagandans. That issue is in Nakasongola up to now. The Sebaruli has been asking for government.
There is also an issue of Kochi.
Yes, the government,
Anyway,
the Sebarula has been asking the government to help them recover their land that the Kabaka has taken over, because there is a palace of Kabaka in Nakasongola, and the Sebaruli claims that the palace should have been for the what? For the Sebaruli. Now there is that war between the Bagandans and the Barulis. The government is just there playing hide and seek game since I think 2012. President Museveni and his groups have been, and Minister of Gender, Labor, Culture, they have been playing hide and seek game. One day you will see a problem in Nakasongola.
Thank you. We pray that does not happen, and there should be a clear strategy to avoid such a conflicts. We need to move together in harmony. In short, FDC is heading nowhere. It's joining the DP, UPC, ETC. NUP should seize the opportunity and rally us to keep the opposition candle burning. Nobody in Kabale. Thank you so much, our viewer from Kabale. And several other messages. We have only, there are only 5 minutes that we have. Your parting shot, Bate.
I want to end with two things. I think I will address the first topic we addressed earlier. I think, and that which I didn't talk about, the ruling by the Justice Musa Sekan. I think everybody knew that judgment would go that direction. So the court has become so predictable that we know how it is going to run. There was no friendship lost, because everyone knew how Sekana would do, and that's very dangerous.
Mao lost. Mao
obvious.
Mao lost a case recently filed by DP members.
Basing on the mistakes possibly people can.
I said it, but you need to answer. This is a law, but no, I want to.
He's making a parting comment.
His submission is misleading.
Don't interrupt him.
His submission is misleading Ugandans.
Felix.
The submission that you are making misleads the country. I said if I was a legal counsel of the FDC, I would strike that application on a preliminary objection.
Felix, let me tell you this. You see, our laws actually allow even me to represent myself when I am not a lawyer. Me, Marema Bidis, he's fighting his things, and he's the one who is representing himself.
In which he has interest.
And Rukaga was the interpretation in that.
But those two are different.
So the point I am making is that you can, if the law allows me, who is the participant, I mean, who is the owner, even who is not a lawyer, to go and address myself.
No, you see.
How about a person
wait for him to finish.
Who wasn't even actually a petitioner? But you see, let me say this. Ultimately, this entire thing, FDC should know one thing.
Please, in 30 seconds.
If I was Nandala Mafavi and Patrick Amuleto Boy, and I actually love the FDC, I would step down as the leader of the opposition for the good of the FDC. Even I would say the same people on the other side. But if now that like they are just stamping that they have won, FDC, you have played your part. May you also rest in eternal peace.
Okay, thank you. Your parting shot, Adupa.
Now, me, I have just I've said it earlier on that. The Katonga faction accept they are already political orphans, and in my father's house there are so many rooms. Those one who want
is your father?
Who wants to seek refuge, there is a room in our father's house, Then I also want to...
But you also not there.
No, let him.
He wants to form the same thing.
Let him.
How can he invite
Give
people?
his parting
How
shot,
can
please.
he invite people to
I
a
am
room
not-
where
I
he is
am
also
not-
fighting?
I have not mentioned the name of my father.
We know who
Maybe
your
another
father is.
different father. You see, you keep on trying to you know.
We know who your father is.
You know, my father is called Mzee Robi Ongwet, who is a teacher. Maybe he has a political party.
Adupa, only 30 seconds, please.
Now, another thing that I want to tell fellow Ugandans and the country at large, it is a time, what we are seeing happening in our political space, and I would wish to appeal to the government. After President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, we don't want to see these people scrambling for power and positions in political parties. We may need now to borrow a system of coalition government, whereby everybody is in the government, and when there is mistake done, we take a collective blame.
Okay.
So I think President Museveni should excuse this country, that after him, he shouldn't allow another person to lead for 30 or 40 years alone. We need now inclusivity of everybody
Dr. Wanzara,
in the government.
you only have 1 minute, unfortunately.
I want to talk to you, tell Ugandans that let's desist from Kumanyoko politics, and then we look at, let's scrutinize the characters of these leaders, because there is evidence, a trail to check. If I'm discussing any leader in Uganda, at least I can point to a story that I saw this and I have seen and that and that. But mudslinging in politics doesn't take us anywhere.
Good.
We need to focus on issues that collectively build us.
Okay, finally, I see a reported statement as the Secretary General of FDC responding to allegations of Lukwago and Nyanjula reclaiming the Najanankumbi FDC offices and, quote unquote, let them sign their wills before they come.
He has to face it.
Viewers.
Those chiefs had killed me.
Oh.
Nandara. Yes, he's talking. Indeed, what he's saying is true. Because now I was at court and the first grabbed him and took him in the lift when we were still talking. So if you have to go to Najanakumi, now they are residents within the FDC. And that is the political party that wants to take over from Museveni's mess.
But
thank you so much, our viewers. We thank you so much for your time. We will catch up next Saturday. I have to thank the panel.
Kifesi Group has been
bred by Katoga Group in Kampala.
Felix Adupa and Dr. Jedad Were Wanzara. Thank you so much for your comments and submissions. Until next Saturday, good afternoon.
All views and opinions